I have a confession to make. I'm the world's best procrastinator. You see, I have a ton of projects that I need to do and want to do, but they're going to be a massive amount of work. And it would just be easier to stay in bed.
You're not dying, you just can't think of anything good to do.
For example, I want to replace all of the wooden raised beds on my terraces with better, higher quality metal raised beds. Another example is I've been promising my wife for years that I would make a dining room table from the planks that I milled and then put in the basement many years ago. Well, the procrastination ends today. Last year, I installed 3 of those raised metal beds made by Vegega, and I was blown away by them. They're just awesome beds. They're really easy to make, and so I was thinking about putting in some more, and then they sent me an email and said, hey, we'll give you a discount if you want to get some more of these beds. And so I decided to replace all of the decaying wooden beds that I had. By the way, check the description of this video for an exclusive coupon code where you will get a discount on products that Vegega makes. And also, if you would, please leave a comment. It makes a huge difference as to whether or not YouTube will notice me at all. Getting back to those awesome beds, I'm going to share with you a massive mistake I made when putting them in last year. But first, I needed to rip out the old beds and build the new ones. My property is plagued by digging rodents like chipmunks. And what they like to do is they like to dig up from underneath inside a raised bed and eat all the goodies. And so what I normally do with a raised bed is I'll put down hardware cloth, and this prevents them from doing that. But in my excitement to get these beds built last year, I got them built, I had good music playing, and I was motivated, and I got buckets full of composted soil that I've made. And as I'm putting in that last bucket, I realized I didn't put hardware cloth underneath any of them.
What'd I do? You killed the car.
Well, no good deed goes unpunished, and it was a constant fight last year keeping them out of my raised beds. And so I needed to solve this problem. And so what I decided to do was I'm going to move all of the dirt from these old beds into the new beds, fix the problem, and then and make sure I put hardware cloth on the new ones before I do that as well. But now you're starting to get an idea as to why I was kind of hiding from this project, because it was essentially that I needed to do double the amount of work. Well, it was time to move thousands of pounds of garden soil with 5-gallon buckets. Something I've been doing for a while is I have been getting the discarded fruit and veggies from local markets and juice bars and composting it. Hundreds and hundreds of pounds of organic material to compost. If that's something you're interested in, I'm going to be making a video here pretty soon about my composting setup. But what I decided to do was, once I had all of the raised beds halfway filled with dirt, I then put a nice thick layer in all of the raised beds. And then after I had done that, I filled the beds up the rest of the way with more garden soil. The next step was to harvest earthworms from the compost and add a whole bunch to each of these raised beds. And if you want to make an earthworms day, which if you want to have a healthy garden, keeping the earthworms happy is probably job number one, make sure you have a nice layer of decomposing organic matter about 6-8 inches underneath the soil, and it will really kickstart the soil activity. I finished with some poultry wire protection that I put up around all of my raised beds, and this is mandatory because all of my neighbors are desperate to eat my garden. And so what I did was I came across some metal frames that actually a pretty jerky person had chucked out of their vehicle on the side of a road in the woods here by my house. So yeah, not a cool thing to do, but it ended up kind of useful for me. And so I took these frames that were probably from like a hobby store from what I could tell, and I had to cut them up so that I could use them to support the poultry wire on the raised beds. For the rest of them, I used PVC piping to support the poultry wire. And finally, I put the plants in. I have a variety of squash, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, and herbs going in those raised beds. I had mentioned at the outset that I also was avoiding working on a project where I had been promising my wife that I would make her a table. It was a maple tree that was in our backyard that had spalted grain, really beautiful spalted grain. And so I used a chainsaw mill and sliced it up into slabs. I didn't have a YouTube channel back then, so I took a couple pictures, didn't take any video. And then eventually that rather large slab or stack of 6 slabs of wood ended up in our basement, and it's just been parked there ever since. And periodically my wife would check in with me like, hey, so what's the story with the table? And I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get to it. Well, she was gonna be away for 5 days visiting family this past week, and so I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna do it. And so what transpired was 5, 12 to 14-hour days of me absolutely knocking myself out to build this table, get it assembled, get it finished, get it installed, and P.S. it weighs upwards of 450 or 500 pounds. So yeah, it was a bonkers project. And you're saying, oh, well, where's the video of it? Well, the camera that I had set up for it, the card got corrupted, and so I really don't have much footage. I have a couple clips of some of the process steps, but for the most part, I don't really have any footage. Okay, here we go.
That is so cool. It's better than I ever imagined.
Anyway, the moral of the story on this entire video is if you can break through that procrastination of a big project that you're avoiding, at a minimum, you can make yourself happy. And on the flip side of that, you could actually make others really happy. And that's also a very rewarding thing to do. Speaking of making others happy, the 25 of you that are still watching right this minute, you make me happy. Thank you very much for watching my videos. I know I said 10 in my last video and a whole bunch of people reacted. I don't know that this video has as big a mass appeal. So to the 25 of you, I tip of the hat, thank you. And also, would you consider becoming a paying member of my channel where you get one-on-one support, you get free access to my guides and my plans, and you also just kind of help me out continuing to make this channel possible. And as always, if you like this video, you might like these.